Alright, you guys, so right now we're going to do the worksheet for the direct and indirect quotes, but we're going to do something a little bit different this week. So what we're going to do here, instead of reading this together, you are going, since we're not there, since we're not actually physically together, you're going to copy this link over here. You're going to Control-C or Command-C if you have a MacBook, and you are going to go to your website or Chrome or whatever it is that you use, and you're going to copy and paste it. This is the website. I have it already open, but you're going to copy and paste it, and you're going to open this page. If you see over here, this and this are the same text, except this will read it for you, okay? So you're going to hit play, and you are going to listen.
This week's podcast is made possible by...
You are going to listen to these this being read as you are reading it. So make sure you do that, because some of our discussion questions for this week will be about this particular reading. Okay, so that's that. That takes care of the reading for the week. Now on to our review. Of course, you should have seen the video that's right before this one on grammar rules, on quotation rules. But just a quick review, a direct quotation is one where you're directly quoting what someone said. You're exactly saying what they said. And it begins with a quotation mark, and it ends with a quotation mark, okay? And we use it when the speaker's saying exactly what we are copying or what we are trying to quote. My father said, clean your room. Notice the word your, it shows that he is speaking to that person, right, to me. My father told me to clean my room, but I didn't. There is no direct quote here, okay? There's no direct quote. Indirect quotation involves talking about someone else saying without using the direct quote or the actual quote, all right? So we talked a lot about these in the other video. This is just kind of a quick review. My father told me that I should clean my room. Notice that my here shows the speaker is still speaking and there's no direct quote. So here's kind of like a summary of what the father said and not actually what the father did say. Okay, then we have indirect quotes. Again, examples. The witness said that she was very scared when the burglar entered her house. She said that she ran to the phone and called the police and that the man left quickly. This is an indirect quote because we're kind of summarizing what she is saying. Again, example of direct quote. The witness said, I was scared, I ran to the phone right away. Do you see the difference between the two? This one here is just a summary. This is exactly what she said. Before you continue this video, take a moment to do these exercises by yourself. I'm going to give you the answers, but you do have to do them by yourself for your own practice. So here we have identify each sentence as having a direct quote or an indirect quote. Number one, my sister told me she was very sad about losing her job. This is an indirect quote. Why? Because we are saying what the sister told us. We are giving the summary, right? She was very sad about losing her job, right? This is me talking on her behalf. So we're summarizing. The man yelled, "You'll never catch me," before the police caught him. This is a direct quote because, first thing, we see quotation mark. Otherwise, we do not see quotation marks. And I think my video froze, so I'm just going to take out the video here for a second. Let me see if I can bring it back up. Still not working. Okay, so we're just going to finish this without the video. Going to make this bigger. All right. So we see here that you have the quotes, and these automatically tells me that it's a direct quote. David said that he would never watch television, that television show again. Again, indirect quotes. One, there is no quotation mark. 2, same case as here. We are telling what David said, we're giving a summary of what David said. Okay? 4, the doctor said, say ah, and so I said ah, right? This is a direct quote. Obviously, we have the quotation marks on both ends, and this is what the doctor said, and this is how I replied, right? Doctor speaking over here, me speaking over here. For this exercise, we're going to say identify the sentence as having direct quote or indirect quote and add the quotation mark where they are needed. Number 5, when she gets here, tell the realtor that we want at least 3 bedrooms. So the person who is talking has to tell the realtor exactly what that person says. So this is a direct quote, and this is where we place them. We want at least 3 bedrooms. You guys remember our rules? That if it's a complete sentence, we capitalize it. We want at least 3 bedrooms. The realtor said that will cost you at least $300,000 in Rancho Cucamonga. This is, again, a direct quote of what the realtor said. Oh, this doesn't want to leave. Okay. In Rancho Cucamonga. Leave us alone. There we go. Okay. So notice here, we added the quotation marks. And this is a direct quote. We know that because the realtor is addressing that person. Okay, you. And apparently, evidently, I am not you. So they have to be talking to that person. Number 7, what shouted, my husband shouted? I thought it would be around $200,000. Again, direct quote, we are directly saying what he's shouting. What? Right? This is our crazy moment. And then remember, we interrupted. And then, again, we put the quotation marks for the rest of what he said. Now, in the other video, we said that if we interrupt a quote, then we don't capitalize. Why did we capitalize in this case over here? We capitalized this letter, I. One, because when I is by itself, it's always capital. But really, it could have been anything. Because this sentence ended. You see the period here? That shows us that the sentence ended. So there's no sense in me not capitalizing because it's now a new sentence, even though I interrupted the quote. It wasn't a comma. If it was a comma, I didn't have to capitalize if it wasn't an I. But since it's an I by itself, it's always capitalized. Okay? The realtor told us that prices have gone up since we recently, and we should accept it. And this is an indirect quote because it's a summary of what the realtor told us. For practice number 2, we're going to say, in the following sentences, put the quotation marks and punctuation wherever they are needed. Add 2 small lines to any letter that needs to be capitalized. For, in this case, I'm just going to put 1 line and we're going to call it a day. The choice that was the most difficult one of their lives. The choice was the most difficult one of their lives, Louisa Martin said. This is obviously a summary, so it's an indirect quote, so we don't have to put quotation mark, but the is the beginning of the sentence, so we have to capitalize. We have to capitalize the, and then the sentence has to end, so we have to put a period at the end of that sentence. Louisa Martin said that the decision was harder than any other she had ever made. Now again, this is a summary, so we don't need to put quotation marks. This is an indirect quote. of what Louisa said. And Louisa Martin said that the decision was harder than any other decision she had ever made. Because we have she, we know that it's not going to be a direct quote, you guys. Otherwise, it would have said, Louisa Martin said, the decision was harder than any other I have ever made. Okay? But it's not the case. And of course, the sentence ends with a period, so we have to remember to put a period at the end of the sentence. Oops, sorry, you guys. So, Brittany Maynard said, I want a chance to have some kind of control in my life. And then, parentheses, living life to the end. This is what she's saying. We know that this needs quotation marks because I want a chance to have some kind of control in my life. Okay? So this is the beginning of the quote. This is the end of the quote. And the name of the book, we do not capitalize the name of the book. Okay? If anything, depending on the format, remember we talked about MLA and all different types of format, usually it is in italics. Okay? And we know this is the name of the book because every letter of the title is capitalized. Cool? And we need a period at the end of the sentence. And the period in this case changes depending on what kind of format it is. But for our case, we're just going to say that it's a period at the end right here. Brenda said that her time in Italy changed her life. Again, we are summarizing. This is indirect quote, so we don't need quotation marks, but we do need a period at the end of the sentence. I don't know why these sentences, none of them have periods. Okay. The author wrote, if young people studied abroad, they will learn to appreciate another culture. Now here we need quotation marks because we're saying exactly what he wrote. And again, we don't need to capitalize, we don't need to quotation marks here because this is the name of where we found it. It's not the actual quote, but we do need quotation marks where there's a quote, and here we can italicize and put a period at the end of that sentence. Students who volunteer, again, students who volunteer gain an appreciation beyond their young years, said Smith of the New York Times. So first of all, this is exactly what Smith says, so we're gonna put quotation marks. Students, S is the first, students is the first word, so S has to be capitalized, right? And the New York Times is a name, so the New York Times is the name of the newspaper, so it has to be capitalized. Again, here we have at the beginning of the sentence, so it has to be capitalized, okay? Even though we haven't read the sentence yet, but we know that. Oh, and we also need a period here. Sorry, you guys, I forgot. Period at the end of the sentence. The article stated that in the areas where sexual education isn't enough, students were less likely to engage in unsafe sex. Okay, so the article stated that we have to put quotation marks because this is exactly what the article stated. Okay? So what do we have here? In is not capital, well, let me see. Let's see this. In areas where sexual education isn't enough, students were less likely to engage. In is actually capitalized because, like we said in the other video, in areas where sexual education isn't enough, students were less likely to engage in unsafe sex is a complete sentence. It is a full sentence, and because of that, and it's quoted, because of that, I has to be capitalized because it's the first word of technically what the sentence would have been without the quote. Okay. Then we have, and of course we need a period at the end of that sentence. Okay. Then we have number 8. The secretary asked, when do you need this letter typed? T is capitalized. Again, the beginning of the sentence, we always capitalize. Asked, this is exactly what they asked, so we have to put quotation marks and then period. Well, period inside the quotation mark. When do you need this letter typed? This is exactly what they asked, and we know this because it's addressing you. And they're talking to that person. Number 9, the article stated 9 out of 10 of the parents changed their minds and supported the program. Again, T is capitalized, the beginning of the sentence. And this is, and a period, this is an indirect quote because there isn't something particular that we are saying. It is a summary. It says, fix the mistakes in the sentences. Number 1 says, the article said, drugs are a big part of an inmate's life in prison. What we're missing here is the second quotation mark. You see, when we start a quotation, we have to end it, so we have to have the new one. Number 2 says, the president of the college told us, I won't let you down. Now, we are quoting him, but these are not quotation marks, these are apostrophes. So, we have to replace them with quotation marks. Remember that the quotation marks are 2, the apostrophe is just 1. My daughter and her boyfriend said they were going upstairs to study, but I don't believe them. This is an indirect quotes, and we are not even quoting this part, so we take off the quotation marks. Oops, sorry. Okay? So, next we have this exercise, and this is write your own sentences using quotes. And have you had a conversation with a friend or a family member lately? What did they say? And what did you say? And what did they say? So we are going to use this as one of your discussions for this week. Or if anything else that I need to do would be an assignment by itself, and that's where you can submit these this small paragraph. Okay, so this is it for this lesson. If you guys have any questions, make sure to ask me, and remember to listen to this reading, as we might have some questions on or relating to this particular reading.